You've heard, I don't know how much you know about Seventh-day Adventists, but we have a very strong interest in healthful living. And this goes back more than 100 years. One of our leaders, a woman by the name of Ellen White, said that smoking is bad for you in the 1880s, causes cancer. And the U.S. government was saying, no, you can smoke because it's good for your lungs. This is 1880s, okay? And it wasn't until 1960 that they realized that smoking causes lung cancer and other problems. So we've had a long history of healthful living and a desire for health. You've heard of Kellogg's Corn Flakes? Well, Kellogg was a physician. He was a Seventh-day Adventist up in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I told this story last evening. He invented the corn flakes, and he invented granola. He got that going. Of course, today it's not as healthy as it was 100 years ago, but 120 years ago maybe. And anyway, there was a patient that came into his hospital. Battle Creek Sanitarium was the largest hospital in North America at the time, I think probably maybe in the world. It was the Mayo Clinic of the day, and it was operated by the Seventh-day Adventists. We only had about maybe 100,000 Seventh-day Adventists around the world, so it wasn't a big operation to the church. But today we have, I just want to say about 55 hospitals in North America. In fact, we have the largest hospital system in the state of Florida. That be as it may. Okay, so there was a patient that came into the hospital at Battle Creek and dirt poor and didn't have much money, didn't have any money, and so they said, you can come in for free and we'll take care of your needs. And back in those days, it was a healthy diet that helped to heal people, but it was also natural remedies. It was hot and cold treatments, and it was doing the exercise and things like this, and people got better. So they worked with this guy, and he couldn't pay, so they said, okay, you can stay here for free, and we'll take care of you for a week or two or whatever. He would sneak down into the kitchen, and he started copying recipes. Well, he saw it. Clandestine. Cheating. Anyway, when he got out of the hospital, he said, I'm going to take these recipes, and I'm going to make a lot of money. And he did. His name was C.W. Post, where we get Post Great Nuts and Post this and that. Postum. Postum was good with this. I don't think they make Postum anymore. But anyway, we had a strong tradition of healthful living, and one of the things that we do is teach in class here how to cook healthily. We had a program that we did back in March, and it's called Diabetes Undone. There was a lady that didn't come to this. She wanted to come, but she couldn't make it, so she contacted me even this weekend. And I said, well, if you can come to this, I'll loan this to you. Diabetes Undone. It's an 8-week series, and it was an 8-session series. We did 2 nights a week, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. And it's an excellent program. Also, we believe in 8 laws of health. These aren't for sale, by the way. These are mine. But it's good stuff. 8 laws of health. We talked about this last night. And the 8 laws of health read out in this form here. Well, this, New Start. There are 8 laws of health. Would anybody like a paper? I've got extras. Would you? Okay.
Yes, yeah. Barbara O'Neill. I know. Isn't it cool? You like know people?
I love Barbara.
There's not much on there. Anybody? You know, last night.
I watched her. Oh, she's fantastic. She's got YouTube videos. I watch her.
Hey, you might want to talk about Barbara O'Neill because she watches her stuff too, because we talked about it yesterday.
Okay.
It was really good.
Barbara O'Neill. She's a Seventh-day Adventist.
I knew. I didn't know, but I knew. You know, I just knew.
Yeah, and she has a website that her daughter put up, and I think it's BarbaraO'Neill.org. Did you look it up at all?
I didn't, but I've watched her stuff.
Yeah, it's excellent. Excellent stuff.
Yes.
She was banned in Australia, but she's Australian. So you're aware of that. Yeah. So here's what the New Start is. Now, you're going to fill in the rest of it. The N stands for nutrition. Nutrition. One of the Greek philosophers said, let food be your medicine, and let medicine be your food. But nutrition is the first one. E, what do you think E stands for? That's right. Exercise. Exercise. Movement. And they're saying and learning more today that the more you can keep moving, the healthier you're going to be. W.
Water.
Oh, spot on. Water. Yeah, you got it. Okay, and S.
Sun.
That's right.
Sunshine.
I was gonna say sugar.
Oh, that's yeah, sunshine. T. Temperance. That's not only staying away from alcohol and tobacco and the bad things in life, but emotional stuff too that can tie us down. Okay, that's T. A.
Air.
Air. Yeah. R.
Rest.
Rest.
That's right.
Murder, you cheating? Are you cheating?
No.
Okay.
I take picture on.
Oh, you took picture of it. That's good. And what's the last T?
Trust.
Trust in divine power. Trusting in God. Having that relationship with Him, which is very, very important. Anyway, those are the 8 laws of health that we talked a little bit about last night. So tonight I'm going to demonstrate a recipe, and I'll have them here if you want one. This is called creamy Alfredo sauce. Now, I like Alfredo sauce, and it really goes good. But this is a dairy-free, no dairy in it, Alfredo sauce. Have you seen how they, maybe I should mention it. You want me to mention it?
Yeah.
Well, it's legal.
Yeah, it is legal.
Okay.
It is legal. They milk cows without mercy. And sometimes these cows are just overwhelmed and they can't walk, they don't have any exercise, and still they force them to do this. So I'm a strong proponent of being a vegetarian. In fact, word is that vegetarians didn't suffer as much during COVID as non-vegetarians. So there's something to that. I was talking to somebody the other day, and her brother is a vegetarian, but he got COVID really bad. He was in the hospital. So it's not necessarily a golden key, but it helped people who were vegetarians suffered less from COVID things that happened a few years ago. Anyway, tonight, Alfredo sauce. And we're going to start with about 2.5 cups of soy milk. Oh, no, not soy milk. Almond milk. Doesn't that already look great? You want to try it? Last night I made some scrambled tofu, and tofu comes in 2 forms. One form is the brick kind, and it's kind of hard and stuffed. This other kind is more of a smooth yogurt, and not yogurt, but tofu. And it's more, you can just see, you can dig into it. Be better, I think, if it had some sugar in it. Honey. Takes a pound of this tofu. Yesterday when I made the fruit smoothies, I sweetened it with maple syrup. And it turns out maple syrup is very good for the brain. Pure maple syrup, I'm not talking about the Bandit Farmers or whatever it is. So this is here, and then I'm going to put in nutritional yeast. I don't have the thing here, but nutritional yeast, salt, and some seasoning. Smells very good. Garlic powder. And here's the two garlic cloves. Oh. And this is 1.5 teaspoons of fresh lemon juice. Okay? So that's that.
You're looking for the lid?
I'm looking for the thing to cover it.
For the lid?
Yeah,
Is that not?
I thought it was here. You mean it's not here? Is it back there? No problem. We will improvise.
Don't see it.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll improvise, this will be fun.
I've done this before.
You better hold down tight, but
Well,
that's gonna go everywhere.
I want it to be nearer that way. How can we name this? No, this is a Vitamix.
Yeah, exactly.
Vitamix is a top-notch machine, mixer. And so it has a control up front here, and you'll see it'll start out slow. And then I can increase it. And you're just blending everything up. That look good? It even came out a little bit. But that's it. Now, what I'm gonna do before Jody comes up, I'm gonna take this in the back and pour it into a bowl. In fact, yeah, not bad. But it's gotta cook, so I've gotta cook it. So if you'll excuse me, I'll be right back and pour this in the bowl, because I need the bowl that's up there and I need this too. The next recipe I'm gonna do is olive, walnut burgers. No eggs, no meat, no dairy.
You put the rice? So, okay.
Olive,
Olive.
walnut burgers.
I don't want anything that feels like a burger.
I want a burger with beef. Yes, the name. Just follow the meat. So how long have you been a vegetarian?
About, I think I became a vegetarian about 1970.
Wow.
That doesn't mean, and in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm even going more to a plant-based, so which is a vegan vegetarian. But I'm not dogmatic about it. At holidays, if I'm visiting family and so forth, and they have turkey on the table, I'll have turkey, but not a lot. There. So that's, I'm gonna have to use this again, aren't I?
Yep.
It's okay. It's okay. So, yeah, I've been a vegetarian since 1970. Even before that, I started, but I'm a Vietnam veteran, and so I went to Vietnam, and kind of hard to be a vegetarian in Vietnam. So I ate what they had. And I feel better for it. Now I do run a higher blood pressure than I should. I don't like that, but I also take herbs. There's one I call mayonnaise, but that's not the name of it. Begin with N. It's something like nata A's or something like that, so I just call it mayonnaise. Are you familiar with it at all? It's supposed to lower your A1C and...
It's not nanokinase, is it?
What is it?
Nanokinase?
I think it's nanokinase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
like
so I
It's-
take that
Yeah.
every morning, so I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. It's supposed to really help with people that have long haul COVID, is nanokinase. And I may be saying it really wrong, but it's one of those things you can hear in your head, but then when you try to say it, it comes out wrong.
And that's why I call it
Mayonnaise.
mayonnaise.
I love it.
Just goes together there. So this next recipe is a vegan recipe, and I like this. And at home we're mostly vegan, not 100%, but we are mostly vegan, plant-based. And I got to find the recipe. Here it is. Yeah, okay. So I take the black olives, a cup of black olives, and a 1/4 cup of water. I should have brought water with me. Yesterday in my fruit smoothie, I used frozen fruit, frozen blueberries and frozen strawberries. Use about 2 tablespoons of molasses. You can use not molasses.
Maple syrup.
That's it, pure maple syrup. Really good stuff. And you can use honey in that fruit smoothie. It's just really good stuff. And I have that 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning for breakfast. And then I may have some toast or something afterwards. And anyway, I like it. I've been doing that for about a year or so. Now, got the water. I'll need more water too, but this says 1/4 cup of water. Now olives are good for you too. Oh, that's right, forgot. Nobody reminded me. Well, that's okay, anyway, this is how it goes. That's about it. And then we put in here, we have chopped walnuts. Let's see, blend the first 2 ingredients. I just did that. Mix all other ingredients in a bowl. That's this. This is oatmeal, walnuts in one. And remember, there's no egg, so there's not going to be anything that holds it together, except the oatmeal. Now we get wet and it'll just kind of bind it together. And I got all that in there, and then it says add the blended water and olives. Do that now. Try to do what I'm told. I need a little bit more water in it. It seems to be awfully thick. Okay. There we go. It's an easy recipe and it's rather tasty in my opinion. Now you can see on the mirror above us that it's, oh, you don't have a mirror. Okay. Put these in.
Need a spoon?
Now I got a spoon.
Oh, okay.
But you can wash this out if you want. Oh, I don't care. I need the exercise. But I'll let you do it, just rinse it out. Probably didn't even need it. Because we'll use the olives too. Okay, so I'm following the recipe here. In a bowl, add the blended water and olives. And you can mix it up. And the other one you do,
Surprised there's not beans in it. I thought we had vegetarian burgers.
and this is some seasoning, salt, and sage, and things like that. This is some onion. This one over here. Go with that. Let's do it some more. Thank you, guy. So when I'm done here, Jody's gonna take over, and I'm gonna cook this stuff in the back. And then afterwards you can be able to taste it. You know, I'm just gonna add that. Okay, so this calls for a 1/4 cup of water. That's right, is it? Yes. More walnuts. Walnuts are good for the brain. And walnuts look like a brain, so that should, that's there.
Any nut that
Okay.
looks like that, and the ones that are kidney shaped and stuff, good for your kidneys.
Yeah, and that's, and the cauliflower for lungs, you know, yeah.
And that's basically it.
Oh.
If you need more liquid, you can add a little bit more liquid if it doesn't absorb, but it should.
Did you add anything to that, or is it just the walnuts?
It is water and walnuts.
Oh, walnut, okay, you
Yeah,
did add
water.
that, okay.
And walnuts. And then all the water in. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And again, if it's too thick, you can add more water to it and let it sit for a few minutes. And that's what I'll do in the back there, and it'll absorb with the oatmeal. Smells pretty good.
I I can smell the garlic. Or no, that one isn't garlic.
You can smell the garlic?
Well, so I think it's that from back there, yeah. But I don't smell the onions on that one.
No, it's all here. Okay, and with that,
Okay.
crash. Put that in the back. Put this in the back. And Jody, it's all yours.
All right.
Very aromatic, I can smell it. All right, so yesterday we talked about, okay, why, or how can we find out what foods are actually good for us versus ones that aren't good? So you've heard about food sensitivities and food allergies, and so that's what we went over yesterday. And so I was just gonna kind of recap just a little bit. And that was what we found, is that there are certain foods that people are more sensitive to. So things like gluten, eggs, soy, citrus, dairy, nightshades. And then there's other,
Tomatoes, like tomato.
Oh.
candy.
like tomatoes, eggplant, garbanzo beans, which is hummus, potatoes, tomatoes, those kind of things. Those are nightshades. Then I talked about some good books that I felt are very helpful for making food simple. And so one of the books that I like the best is by Dr. Mark Hyman, and it's What the Heck Should We Eat? I just love the title on that one. And another one that's really kind of come online that I mentioned was Good Energy, and it's by Dr. Casey Means, which is now our U.S. Surgeon General. And she really makes it simple, and she says, you know, they've tried to make it complicated, so that's why it seems complicated. So she really breaks it down in being more simple. Then I talked about, you know, how do we discover which foods we're sensitive to? And then I use muscle testing, and you guys may not be aware of what muscle testing is, but it's where you're testing a muscle in the body to see if you're strong or weak. And it's almost like it's a way of almost like a lie detector test of your body. And so you can find out whether a food makes you weak or strong, just like a lie. If you say a lie, it's going to make your body weak. If you're saying the truth, it will make your body strong. And so we use that same kind of method to find out what foods are impacting you. And I talked about 7 different ways that we do food testing to know whether it's bad for you. So whether it's an organ, or it increases your fungal infection, or it impacts your immune system, or whether you have a trauma to a food. So there's lots of different ways, 7 different ways that the body can interact with food and be bad for it. And create health symptoms. So one of the stories I wanted to share with you is how I got into this in college because I had digestive issues, and I had to figure out what in the world was going on. And it was some of the foods that I was eating. It was also some heavy metals in the piping system, and it was also mold in the dorm room. And so I really had digestive issues, and so I found that taking herbs from an herbologist really helped me get better. And so it kind of shifted me toward alternative or natural medicines versus going more of the allopathic route. And so another event that I had in my life is when I had my son. And so I'm sure if you remember back, you remember those commercials where they had the little kid sitting in the high chair, and then they put the little Cheerios down, and the kid is giggling and laughing at eating the Cheerios, and you're like, oh, what a wonderful scene. So my son, I gave him Cheerios, and he collapsed on the floor and then was screaming and rolling back and forth. I'm like, that was not what I expected. And so that made me, even more realizing, hey, food is really impacting our bodies and what was going on with his body. And what I found that he was gluten and dairy intolerant. And so his digestive system, or his microbiome of his body, was not set up to accept wheat and different kind of grains and gluten, basically. And I found that if I fed him dairy, his body would lower its immune system, so about 4 days later, he would get a cold or some kind of a virus and stuff like that and be sick. And so it made me say, okay, we need to not have him eat these things, and we need to work on getting that whole system worked on and reversed and stronger so that he can have that. Now Nowadays, he eats way too much pizza, but he's 18, so it's hard to control kids. So what I want to talk about today is, okay, what remedies can you take for your body in order to help it be stronger? And so when we do get colds, when we do get, viruses, bacteria, there are things that we can take that are natural that helps us get better. This also can be preventative, so I'm going to talk about those too. So when you have, let's see, so the things that I go to when I have kind of a some kind of an illness is oil of oregano, and it really does help your immune system get better. If you have seasonal allergies, it helps. If you have a runny nose or sinus issues, it will help clear it out because it's very aromatic, or that's the way it says it, because it's very strong and potent, so it gets better. So that's oil of oregano. And the one that I like the absolute best because it's a time release is called ADP, and it's by Biotic Research. And you can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Full Scripts, and I like to order it in the middle of summer when no one's sick because it's cheaper. And then I buy several bottles and then keep them through the winter.
Do they ingest it? Eat it?
Yeah,
Even like a 1 or 2 year?
Oh yeah, what I did as a kid for my son is I actually smashed the pills. And you obviously get, before that they didn't have pill smashers, now you can. And then I would put in applesauce, and that kind of stuff to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah. We've all heard about vitamin C. It really does help your antioxidants, and so that's a good thing to have. Another one is, vitamin D3 plus K2. The K2 really helps with not getting as many dark spots on your skin, because it's a kidney booster. Also helps with not getting bloody noses, the K2. And so that's, it is building, almost like the blood capillaries of the body. So that's why D3 is for immune and K2 with it. Do have to be a little careful with D2 because it is an actual hormone. It's not necessarily a vitamin, and so you don't want to add too much and go overdose on vitamin D3. So just be aware of that. Zinc percolinate. There's lots of different zincs on the market, and I have to admit I don't know which one's better, but I always recommend that zinc percolinate is the better zinc to have.
How can you spell that?
It is PICOLINATE. Some other things that people find that are helpful are bee pollen, which is called, and this one's a hard time, I can't pronounce it. It's PROPOLIS. Propolis? Yeah. Yeah, and it's a tincture that's usually mixed with a little bit of alcohol, and you can mix it with water and take it, but it does help with viruses and things like that. So
Bee pollen what?
It's bee pollen propolis. Now I wrote down castor oil packs here is helping with virus and bacteria. I think it's just a good way to help your body detox, and there's lots of videos on YouTube on how to do castor oil packs. I remember when someone first recommended it to me, I'm like, and then now I'm like, oh. And so you can put it at different places around your body. You can usually, put it on your liver first to get your liver to detox. You can put it on your stomach to help, all that digestive issues you might have. You can put it on the back of you here for helping your kidneys and your adrenals to detox. You can put it, a lot of times women put it on their breast to help with reducing any kind of inflammation. Some people put it on their hair, to help with their, the hair to be better and things like that. So there's lots of different ways you can use it. So that's why YouTube is so great. It's got lots of videos on that.
Barbara has stuff.
And then there's something that's called a universal antidote, and it's probably one of my #1 things that I really like. And the FDA has finally just removed it on all the negative language they have about it very quietly, and that just happened this last week. So It's a remedy that we can't mention more than it's called the universal antidote. So if you want more, I will give you more information when I'm not on camera. All right, so remedies to help with decreasing inflammation. So, you know, obviously when we have disease, disease is, you know, dis-ease, and you have too much inflammation in your body, and so we want to reduce that. And so one of the number one herbs for that is curcumin. Some people call it turmeric, curcumin, but it's a combination, and so the one I take is curcumin. There is some theory that if you mix it with black pepper, it will irritate the stomach lining enough so to be absorbed better. And so we're not really sure if it's like, well, you've irritated it and then it's like solving it, or whether it's helping absorb it, but that's some of the theories out there. So,
Do you drink a tea with it, or?
I take, it's called, the one I like is turmeric/curcumin.com.
Oh, you take a pill.
Yeah, I actually take a pill, yeah.
Oh.
Now, as I was telling you the other day, if you are going to do a stir fry and you're gonna use olive oil, which has a really low flash point, if you add turmeric to the olive oil when you're stir frying, it will raise the flash point and not go rancid. So it's helping with that inflammation part. So kind of a neat tip on that. Again, oil of oregano is helpful. I wrote down hemp CBD oil. Some CBD oils are very helpful for people and some are not. It doesn't have any THC in it, but it helps with reducing inflammation. Sometimes people, you know, put it as a like a rub or a lotion on different areas of soreness. It will really help with that. Some people take it for sleep to reduce inflammation. What we find is it is acting on the endocannabinoid system. And the endocannabinoid system is your pain receptors in your body. And so it's a natural system that you have. And when that is functioning well, you don't have pain. If you do, if it's not functioning well, then you will experience pain. There's obviously a lot of other neurotransmitters in your gut and your brain that also impact pain, but that's one of the things that I find that I don't have an issue with. I mean, when I take the hemp CBD oil, I don't notice a thing. No response. But my cannabinoid system is working just fine. But people that have an issue, they find that it helps. So just be aware that it's an herb that's great, but it's reacting to your body and why. Another one that's really helpful is magnesium. You know, everybody says we're low in magnesium, and so Nature's Calm is a powder that you can stir into water. You can have it as a tea, but it's best to do it at night because it helps you sleep better. And then the great thing in the morning, it helps you eliminate better. So you kind of have this natural flow of your body. So Nature's Calm is a good one on that. We mentioned yesterday how much blueberries are really helpful, and especially the Wyman wild blueberries from Maine. And you can only usually get those at a health food store, but they help you detox heavy metals out of your body. So that's why they're really good wild blueberries. And number one thing that helps with decreasing inflammation is omega-3 and fish oils. And that's really helpful. And we want to try to eat more things that have omega-3. So those are things in fish. And we want to eliminate the number of things that are omega-6s or omega-9s because they cause inflammation. So those are things that are in your seed oils, things that are in your usually all your chips. Most chips are made with coconut oil, canola oil, safflower oil. All those oils are all seed oils, and they create inflammation, and they're omega-6. So try to eat more omega-3. One thing to be aware of is a lot of times, you'll, let's say, get an omega-3 supplement from the store. And what I find is that most people take one pill a day. You usually need about 2 because you need to take more than you think you need to take. So usually just a normal dosage is not enough. And I was going to write down how much to take here, and I didn't. But you typically need to have 2 a day in order to get the amount. Yeah. All right. So we talked a little bit yesterday about how some foods can increase your inflammation of fungal, and I've got a great video that I can send you if you're interested. You can give me your number or your email and I can send it to you. But it talks about what foods create a fungal infection in your body. Now, when I first learned about fungal foods, I'm like, oh, well, I would never eat those foods because they cause a fungal infection. I don't like to demonize any food that God created because it's, He created it for a reason. So, in other words, if you have an overgrowth of fungal in your body, then they are going to increase that. So the intent is that you try not to have a fungal infection and then you can eat those foods. They're not going to create it in the body. So just be aware of that distinction. But I do talk about how if you have an internal fungal infection, which is causing, digestive issues, weight gain, and things like that, you try to not eat those foods while you're trying to decrease the fungal infection. And so things that help get rid of a fungal infection is the universal antidote I talked about. Molecular silver or colloidal silver, you probably heard of that, and it's also good for helping reduce when you have a virus or bacteria. There's tinctures that are called intestinal tract defense and fungus fighter. And there's a tincture company called Herb-Pharma, and it's PHARM, I guess it's farm, herb-pharma.com. And those two herbs or tinctures are really good for helping get rid of a fungal infection.
Even like toenail fungus?
So if you have toenail fungus, what that's indicating is you have a fungal infection in your body and it's showing up now on your skin. So the intent is you start working on the internal and that it will go away. Now, I've used lots of different remedies, lots of different things, and there's different things you can do. I think one of the best one is to take the universal antidote, or there's a gel form, which is called Renew 28 from ASEA, which is a company. And then you put DMSO with it on your toenails. And so you're getting the body to recognize that there's a infection there, and the DMSO helps penetrate into the skin. So that's one of the remedies that I have recommended to people. So anyways, there's lots of remedies for fungal infection, and if you would like an extensive list, I can give those to you. As you remember, I talked about it's really important to, like my son, he was having an issue with not being able to digest foods, and so we want to help that microbiome be in balance. And so things that you could, the primal defense and fungal defense help with that, and that's, back up. All right, so to help that, you need to have probiotics and prebiotics. Prebiotics are things like sauerkraut, and they're like, another one is apple cider vinegar. They prep your body to be able to handle foods. And so those are two what they call prebiotics. Probiotics is trying to get that gut flora to be in balance. And so there's lots of different probiotics on the market. They're getting more and more expensive every day. But I have several that I find that are pretty universal for everybody. And so that is Primal Defense by Garden of Life. There's another one called PB8 by Nutrition Now. And there's another one that's pretty easy to get, which is Ultima Flora by Renew Life. And what I find is really helpful is you need to have 3 different kinds that you take. And like I said, I have more here if you're wanting to look at my list. But you need to have 3 different kinds of probiotics, and then you rotate. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, and so you're constantly every day taking a different probiotic. If you just buy one and have one every day, your body goes, I know what that is. I don't have to do anything, and so it goes right on the top of it. So you need to keep your body guessing on what you're giving it. So it can keep like, oh yeah, I need to do that. You know, it's like, if you just keep doing this and you're like lifting weights this way, your body goes, yeah, that's fine. And then you do this and your body goes, oh, I can't handle that. So it's the same idea.
So do you do 3 in a row days and then 3 in a row?
I do just every day I take a different one.
kinds,
Yeah,
so 3 different
just
kinds.
continue to rotate it. Another one that's helpful is ion biome. And this, you probably have heard of, the company is created by Zach, I'm not gonna mess up his last name. I think Zach Moron, but I think that's wrong. So, but anyway, it's an ion biome, and what he did is he found that if he put water through peat moss and then gathered the water underneath, it was a natural way of being able to get your body to have that right flora. What he have also found is that, remember I talked about how glyphosate is really impacting our gut with all the wheat and things like that. That ion helps clear the glyphosate from the body. So it's almost like that peat moss, whatever it's doing, it's kind of helping cleanse the gut. So if you eat a lot of wheat, I always, then you need to take that to try to get that whole microbiome gut back as part of that. So,
Is that what Willard water is?
oh, I don't know.
My brother-in-law
I've
drinks
heard
that
of
for his
that.
Lou Gehrig's.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out what it's about. All right. So those are some remedies for things that we commonly are all dealing with. But I also have some other remedies that are really helpful for kidney stones, gallbladder, and they're both awesome because they're so simple, and it just breaks my heart when people get their gallbladder cut out because there's such a simple way to get rid of those gallstones and be better. And then, I mean, when people have kidney stones, I mean, they're in the hospital, they're taking all these medications, and then they may have to have surgery, and there's such a simple way to get rid of them. So if you're wanting a video on those, let me know, and I can give you I can send you the link for watching the video on how to get rid of those kidney stones and gallbladder stones very simply. Parasites are the next category that is really starting to be a thing. And we're finding that we all have a level of parasites in our body from different things. I've actually found that I had parasites from swimming in my pool in Louisiana, and so even the dog had it. And what was interesting is the dog had it in what they call the mucosa lining of her body. So that's the internal skin. Now you have mucosa lining on your eyes, and you blink in the moisture. You have it in your salivary glands. And so when she got parasites, she started having eye issues, and it wasn't the eyes, it was the actual mucosa lining or the liquid around the eye that was impacted. So very strange, but pets teach us lots of stuff, and so you're always learning. So I helped her get over that by giving her ivermectin, which is one of the biggest things to help with that. And so there's lots of different ways to get that nowadays, and they keep saying it's going to be offered over the counter soon also. So another one is to get rid of parasites is something called Miracle 2 soap. And I think it's fascinating because I was introduced to Miracle 2 soap when my son was about 3 months, maybe somewhere in there. And it's a great product to help detox. And so you can put it in your bath water, and then that helps you detox. You can, obviously it's a soap, so you can, I clean my shower with it, I clean my stove with it, but I can, wash in it, and I can even, you take and put it in a dropper and put it in water, and you drink it, and that helps with the parasites. So,
it does.
yeah. And what I think is really neat about it, it's a preacher that got a vision for a soap recipe by a dream. And so he started making this soap, and he prays over every bottle. And so the family, he's passed on now, but his family still owns the company. And when I moved to Louisiana, like I said, I had used it on my son since he was 6 months, and we were trying to look for houses, and I opened the cupboard door and there was Miracle 2 soap. I'm like, this is our house. And I found it was actually made 20 minutes away from where I was living when I moved in. So it was
So you
just,
started it in 6 months?
yeah, I had been using it for years, and to realize that he and his family were that close was really neat. So, but yeah, Miracle 2 soap, you can buy it on Amazon, now, and you can buy it in jugs and things like that. You can buy it moisturized, you can buy it not. So he has lots of different products that are really helpful. We've all heard about diatrometric earth and how helpful that is, and sometimes you can get that, drink it, eat it yourself, put it on food, put it in smoothies, get it to your dog, and that sometimes helps certain kinds of parasites.
What's it called?
Diatrometric earth. And I can
Diet?
spell it if you want.
Okay.
It's DIATOMACEOUS. And it's like a white sticky powder, and it helps get rid of ants, spiders. You can put it, around the
Please.
property to protect it
really?
from coming in. So
I
it's a
sprinkle
really
it all
great
over
product.
my yard.
It's what?
I sprinkle it on my yard, I put it on my dogs, and kind of brush it in.
Yep, yeah, exactly. That will help with ticks and lots of things like that. Yeah,
Will it help people not get ticks too?
probably. Yeah,
Because they're
But
terrible
get
this
rid of
year.
worms,
yeah.
I mean, I'm scared of ticks, that's why.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
And I've already been bit.
Oh, but yeah.
I also, for the ivermectin, you get liquid ivermectin, and my dog did get a tick here, and that's all I had, and so I just took a little bit and poured it on it, and the tick was dead. I mean, backed out and dead within like a second. I was amazed.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, that's what I need to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about different remedies. There's other remedies that I have found to be very helpful in regenerative medicine. So in other words, we've talked about how to get rid of stuff when you get it, but how do you make sure you stay as healthy as you can to not get stuff? So that's what regenerative medicine is. And so one thing I have found is called redox signaling molecules. And so our bodies are constantly trying to get rid of viruses and bacteria out of its cell, okay? Because they get stuck in our mitochondria. And so redox signaling molecules helps with cellular communication. So it says, hey, that's not supposed to be there. And so it helps flush it out, detox it. And so it's a multi-level marketing product, but it really does help with regenerative medicine and help with that cellular communication. So that's one thing that's very helpful. Another one I have found is it's a patch that can be used to help with our stem cell growth. So we naturally have stem cells in our body, but as we age, we lose them. So I think they said around 65, we only have like 10 or 15% of the natural stem cells that we normally
I only
make.
have 3 more months.
Yeah. And so these, because nothing goes in your body, it's on the surface, it helps stimulate your own natural stem cells. And so the gentleman that created it, he was hired by the US government because he had all these guys going down with submarines that were not going to see sunlight for a long time, and he wanted to make sure that their energy stayed strong and healthy and vibrant. And so he was commissioned to make a patch, and so that's what he did. And I've got one on today. I'll kind of show you. It's a patch that looks like this, and I just wear it on the outside. And you can wear it on different areas of your body to stimulate different, what they call acupressure points that are associated with different organs to help better. So I wear this one right here, and this is helping my thyroid. I can wear it here, closer to my thyroid. What I found, which is kind of unique, is if I wear it right about here, somehow it stimulates my adrenals enough that I don't crave sugar. Weird, but that's what happens for me.
You lose 50 pounds?
I wish.
And what's the name of the patches?
It's called Life Wave patches, and they're another multi-level company that I've found, and so it's using light technology to help your stem cells. So both of those products are something that I sell because I have found them so helpful for my clients that I work with. I have another one here that I'm wearing, and it's stimulating my liver, and so it helps with my liver detox, and it also helps increase your glutathione. And it's really important to have glutathione in your body to help your liver function and to help your body detox and not be sensitive to so many toxins in our life. All right.
And how come that's a half of one, the other one's a whole one?
Cause I have, if I'm gonna like stay at a hotel, then I wear a full one. If I know I'm not gonna be around as much toxins, then I only wear a half. Some patches you can do that with, sometimes you can't. So there are certain ones that are okay with that and some that aren't.
Okay, cool.
I have some on my shoulder here, but I can't show it today, so. All right, so we all know that exercise really helps with detox. And so I have some really awesome exercises that really also help with your ability to have great energy and also to help with health. So one is obviously walking. So I have discovered that if you walk after a meal, your blood sugar doesn't raise as high, and so it helps stabilize. And so it's good to do that after lunch and dinner so that you don't have an increase in your blood sugar from the meal that you ate. Another one is jumping on a small trampoline, because that helps your whole lymphatic system be able to drain. So it's good to do that for about 10 minutes a day. Another one that's my absolute favorite, and I can send you a video on this one, is a lymphatic drainage exercise. I discovered it, and I found if I did it at night when I got up to go to the bathroom and pee, I went right back to sleep and I didn't stay awake. And sometimes you go to the bathroom and then you're like, oh, you toss and turn. This, it clears your body so that you can go right back to sleep. So it's real simple. You right on your collarbone, you just rub it. You don't have to do hard, and then you just tap. And then you do the other side. And then you tap. Just about like that. And then you go side of the neck is another lymphatic. You tap. And then you do another side. And then you tap. Then we have a lot of lymph nodes underneath our arms. You do the same thing there. And then this side. And tap.
So you rub up and down, not just down?
Yeah, up and
Okay,
down.
up and down, okay.
Then, so you've drained everything here. Now you're gonna do your stomach. And then you tap. Then
What's the
you're growing.
tapping?
Huh?
What's the tapping?
You're getting it's almost like this, where you're
Oh,
moving
okay.
it through, yeah.
Okay.
So you're like stimulating it and then move it, is
Okay.
kind of the idea. Then you have your growing, and so you're stimulating that, and then moving. Then behind your knees. So you do behind your knees and tap. And then the same thing, you're just like trampoline, you're saying, okay, now that I've got all that, let's get it out. And at the end, you just tap on either side of your sternum. That's it. So every time I get up to pee in the middle of the night, I do that, go back to bed, it's done.
So you just go from the top to the bottom and.
Pretty much.
Hit your elbows.
Yeah. I start here,
Oh, okay.
and then go here, and then here. So that's the only one that's kind of like going up and then down. So I think this one opens.
Do you do that before bed or after you get up?
I do it when I get up to pee.
Before you go back to bed?
Yeah. But
How come
also,
you don't do it before you go to bed?
I probably could. I go to
You go
sleep
right to
well.
sleep then,
Yeah,
okay.
so if you don't go to sleep right away, that
Oh,
would be a
okay.
good way, yeah.
I should not have my dad do this. He goes to sleep so easy.
So breathing is another one, but they always say, breathing in by, 5 or 7 breaths, holding it, for 4 or 5, breathing out, hold that, that kind of breathe. Sometimes if I can't sleep, that's another thing I do, is just kind of be aware of my breathing. I have a really neat pastor that, he just mentioned it one time, I think, in a talk he gave, and I really like it. And so I have a little mantra, and I just say, let's see, Abba, I belong to you. Abba, I belong to you. So that's just kind of like and just, centering yourself, giving yourself to God, God, calm me down, all that. So that's just kind of my mantra that I do. Epsom salt baths, I'm sure you've all heard about that one. That one's really good. Castor oil packs, we talked about that. Here's a dorky one, but it works. It's called incline bed therapy. So what you can do is when you have your bed, you can raise your headboard up. And what I usually do is I go and get 2x4, or 2x4 blocks. So I just have them cut it. And because each one is 1.5 inches, and so you can do 2 to start with. And so that's 3 inches. And so you just raise your headboard 3 inches. And that makes you kind of sleep at a little bit of an angle, which if you don't notice it too much, but that helps your whole body detox, because you're starting at the head and it helps your body, your whole brain, and brain lymphatic system drain and pick it up and pee so that he, so it's like helping everything work, but yeah, that's a really neat one. Weightlifting, that really helps, your body, retain muscle, which helps you burn fat more, and it's so important as we go into menopause that we keep that muscle, because I just heard somebody the other day, Pamela Popper, she's a really great person to listen to on YouTube. She talks a lot about vegetarian meals and eating, but she talks about how much, or this last one she did was talking about how much muscle we lose as we get older, especially in menopause, and it was kind of profound. It was like, man, I need to lift more weights. I do anyway, but I just feel like, wow, that's really important, more than walking, she says. Coffee enemas. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about how important those are, but that was something you can try. It's important that you use an actual coffee enema coffee and not just go to the store and get Starbucks. so there are certain coffees you can get. There's something called, I think it's Wilson's, and they actually have a green coffee, which means it's more intense. But anyway, so that, just being aware of getting, you can get coffee enema kits on Amazon, and Wilson's is, I think, the company. And sunlight each day. We learned that with the New Start and how important that is. So the takeaways are, that there are simple tools and natural ways to be able to help your body get better. And I have lots of videos. Like I mentioned, I give you the fungal infection video, the probiotic video, and how to take probiotics correctly, kidney stones, gallstones. So you can send me an email at jody@quantumtechniques.com.
Spell that.
And I can take also your email today, and I can send you those videos and which ones you like. So, yeah, there's lots of just simple stuff to do.
Jody what?
Jody at Quantum Techniques, and that's QUANTUM, and then Techniques. Because I use quantum healing in what I'm doing, and so I can go forward and backward. No, not forward. I can go back in time and find out what was impacting you at a certain time and find out why you're having a symptom. So we find out what organs involved and what toxins or pathogens involved. And it's really fascinating. So if you're not sleeping, we can go back and say, okay, 3 a.m., what are you dealing with? Well, 3 a.m. is liver. Okay, well, what is your body not being able to detox in your liver at that time? And we can find it, and then that way you can get that out of your body and clear.
So people wake up at the same time every night?
For certain reasons. And isn't it like different organs are associated with different times, and like, so it's very important that you go to sleep at a certain time, and you,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's helpful to go to bed, like I said, 10, but I'd have to look and see what between 10 and 1, but between 11 and 1 is gallbladder, between 1 and 3 is liver, between 3 and 5 is lung.
is what?
Is lung.
What if you don't ever wake up? Are you in
Then you're
good
fine.
shape?
Yeah. Now, if you can't get to sleep, then you have anxiety, and so we need to deal with what's keeping your adrenals running. But if you wake up, then that's usually a detox issue. So we need to find out what's impacting the lungs, which is also grief. So you've had a lot of grief in your life. That's time. We've lost 2 family members in the last 2 years, and so we've had a lot of grief of selling houses and moving and this and that, and so.
But now you're in Pittsburgh, everything's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still working on my husband with his lung issues. But liver is between 3 and 1, and so that's usually you can't detox. And then gallbladder, sometimes you've had too heavy of a meal or something's gotten reversed.
How come we are having so many fatty livers now? I was telling her
That's-
my good friend had to take liver or coffee enemas waiting on a liver. And
Yes.
she had to get a liver transplant. She never drank coffee ever in her life, but
Yeah.
she took coffee enemas for months and months till she got a liver.
Casey means really addresses what is involved with the fatty liver, and it really deals with what we're eating, and that it's not as healthy as we think it is. And so, yeah, she addresses that. So I'd have to look at exactly what she says, but that she really addresses that in the book.
Sometimes I will wake up 3 o'clock, almost, not every day, but exactly.
Yeah, Well,
There you
yeah,
go.
usually
I
three,
have problem. Yeah.
yeah, usually 3 to 5 is long, but yeah.
Oh,
so it
I'm
was
sorry. 3-5?
3 to 5 is long.
Oh, sorry.
So 1 to 3 is liver, but if it's exactly, I mean, there are sometimes I would wake up at 1:32. I mean, like clockwork, and so yeah, I had to figure out, okay, what exactly is going on. And a lot of times it's an emotional issue that we need to look at. You know, is there some emotion? Liver is anger, frustration, and so yeah. So
Yours is your lungs.
Uh-huh.
So what if you have really bad, weird dreams? Does that do something with your
yeah,
diet?
usually dreams, we're looking at your limbic system and your frontal cortex and why is your mind over. But a lot of things, it's also the cerebellum, which is the chemical makeup of the body, and finding out why is that either over, usually if you have dreams, it's overproducing versus under. And it's also a master, I don't want to say master gland of the body, but in other words, it impacts all the organs in the body. So it's if something's off, or lots of organs are disrupted, it's usually cerebellum what we look at, find out what's going on.
So she should do lung exercises?
Yeah, the breathing would be helpful, yeah, for that. And then look at, or journaling, or praying, and saying, okay, what am I grieving over? And how can I let that go? And sometimes there's like burying ceremonies that you can do where you say, okay, this is what represents what I'm grieving about, and then do a ceremony where you're letting it go and releasing it.
Like last year, I stay with friend, after I sold my house and I moved, and our agreement in the bedroom, she have 2 bedroom, and the reality is not, I have to stay in the basement for 2.5 months, and I cannot breathe every time go down, and I talked to my doctor, and doctor said you have to get out from there.
So and if you're in a basement like that, my first thought is that you probably are mold, exactly. You've got some kind of
That's my
inhalant in there.
thinking, and I know it's not good, but I'm looking for places, I'm not find it yet, and the Lord brought me here in Pittsburgh, and I just thank God for that.
Did you find a place?
Yeah, I already have
Good.
yeah, it's 2023. I'm waiting for low income housing there.
That Highland Meadows?
Yes.
That's a
And,
good place.
Yeah, I like that,
Is that where you're at
small,
now?
yeah,
Good.
small, and I can take care of it. Because before it's so big for me, I'm getting old, I'm not young anymore.
You look young.
Hey.
How are we doing? Are we ready to try it? Awesome.
You bet.
All right.
Yeah, I have to watch that. Doctor,
Everything's back here on the table.
So you already want Highland Meadows?
Okay,
yes.
great.